The transport ship shook as it landed on Kalos Prime. Hannah pressed her face to the small window and watched the docking bay fill with strange creatures. Some walked on 4 legs. Others floated in the air. A few looked almost human, but their skin was made of crystal or metal. "First time seeing aliens up close?" asked the pilot. He was from Earth too, but had been flying between worlds for years. "Yes," Hannah said. Her voice was quiet but steady. "Are they all students?" "Most of them. Kalos Prime Academy takes the best young warriors from every species in the Federation. You should feel proud. Earth only got 2 spots this year." Hannah picked up her bag. It was small and simple compared to the huge cases the other passengers carried. She had packed light because everything she needed was already inside her head. 20 years of training on Earth had taught her that the best weapons were the ones you were born with. The docking bay doors opened with a loud hiss. Hannah stepped out into a world unlike anything she had ever seen. The ceiling was so high she could not see the top. Holographic signs floated in the air, showing directions in dozens of languages. The Earth translation device in her ear buzzed as it tried to keep up. "Exchange students, please follow the blue line," said a voice from everywhere and nowhere. Hannah looked down and saw a glowing blue line on the floor. She followed it through crowds of alien beings. Some were twice as tall as her. Others were so small they rode on floating platforms. A few had too many eyes. Some had no eyes at all. Most of them stared at her as she walked past. Their expressions were hard to read, but Hannah had learned to recognize curiosity and judgment in any face. She kept her shoulders straight and her head up. First impressions mattered, especially when you were representing your entire species. The blue line led to a large room filled with chairs of different shapes and sizes. Hannah found one that looked like it was made for humans and sat down. A moment later, another human walked in. He was tall and lean, with nervous eyes that darted around the room. "You must be Hannah," he said, sitting beside her. "I'm Park Jinyu. I got here 3 days ago. How do you know my name?" "There are only 2 humans at this academy. Everyone knows our names." Jinyu looked around the room and lowered his voice. "They have been talking about us since the news came out. Earth joining the Federation was big news, but nobody expected humans to be sent here so soon." "What have they been saying?" "Mixed things. Some are curious. Others think we are too weak to be here. A few seem scared, but I do not know why." Before Hannah could ask more questions, the lights dimmed. A tall figure walked to the front of the room. It looked like a giant mantis wearing military clothes. Its 4 arms moved in perfect coordination as it activated a holographic display. "Welcome to Kalos Prime Academy," the creature said. Its voice was sharp and precise. "I am Instructor Thane. For the next 2 years, I will teach you how to fight, how to think, and how to survive in a galaxy that does not care about your feelings." The display showed images of different alien species. Each one had numbers and classifications floating beside it. "Every species has strengths and weaknesses," Instructor Thane continued. "The Valkyrians are natural warriors with dense bones and fast reflexes. The Graxians, like myself, excel at tactics and strategy. The Zephyrians can fly and see in multiple dimensions. The key to victory is understanding these differences." Hannah watched as more species appeared on the display. Each one looked more dangerous than the last. Sharp claws, thick armor, poisonous skin, energy weapons built into their bodies. She began to wonder what humans brought to this collection of living weapons. "Now, let us discuss the new arrivals," Instructor Thane said. The display changed to show a map of Earth. Humans come from what we classify as a Class 7 Deathworld. This means their planet is extremely hostile to life. Murmurs filled the room. Hannah heard the word Deathworld repeated in a dozen different languages. The translator in her ear told her it meant the same thing in all of them, a place where nothing should be able to live. Earth has crushing gravity, violent weather, and deadly radiation from its star. The fact that humans evolved at all is remarkable. The fact that they built a civilization is almost impossible. On the display, images of Earth's storms, earthquakes, and volcanic eruptions played in a loop. Hannah had lived through some of those disasters. To her, they were just part of life. But she could see the alien students looking at her with new interest. However, Instructor Thane continued. Deathworld origins do not automatically make a species suitable for combat. Many Deathworld creatures are fragile outside their natural environment. We will discover what humans are truly capable of during training. The presentation ended, and students began filing out of the room. Hannah stood up slowly, processing what she had just learned. Jinyu walked beside her, looking worried. He muttered. No wonder some of them look scared. As they walked through the corridor, a group of tall, crystalline beings blocked their path. The leader was nearly 3 meters tall, with armor-like skin that reflected the corridor lights. His eyes were cold and calculating. So these are the Deathworlders, he said. His voice was deep and rumbling. They look smaller than I expected. Excuse us, Hannah said politely, trying to step around the group. The crystal being moved to block her again. I am Veltar Nimbus of the Valkyrian 4th House. My people have been warriors for 10,000 years. We do not move aside for untested soft skins. Hannah looked up at him calmly. She had dealt with bullies before. They were the same on every world. Big, loud, and convinced that size was the only thing that mattered. I am Kim Hannah of Earth, she said, and I am asking you nicely to move. Veltar laughed. The sound was like rocks grinding together, or what? You will cry. Run back to your soft world. No, Hannah said. Her voice stayed level, but something in her eyes changed. I will remember that you chose to make this difficult. For a moment, Veltar looked uncertain. There was something in the human stillness that his warrior instincts did not like. But his pride was stronger than his caution. We shall see, little Deathworlder, we shall see. He stepped aside, and his group followed. As they walked away, Hannah heard one of them say, she did not even flinch. Strange. Jinyu was quiet until they reached their quarters. You just made an enemy on your first day. No, Hannah said, unpacking her few belongings. I just met someone who does not understand what Earth teaches its children. He will learn. What does Earth teach? Hannah smiled for the first time since arriving. That the most dangerous predator is the one that does not look dangerous at all. Hannah's first week at the academy was full of surprises. The food was strange but edible. The classes were taught in Federation Standard, which she had studied on Earth. The other students were curious but distant. And everywhere she went, whispers followed her. That's the human, they would say. The Deathworlder. She looks so fragile. I heard their bones break easily. Why would the Federation accept such a weak species? Jinyu found her in the library on her 3rd day. He looked tired and frustrated. Are you having the same problems I am? He asked, sitting across from her. What kind of problems? The training equipment is always busy when we want to use it. The other students forget to save us seats in class. Small things, but they add up. Hannah had noticed the same things. The Valkyrian students were always at the combat simulators when she arrived. The Graxians would start conversations in their native language when she sat nearby. The floating Zephyrians would block the walkways, then claim they had not seen her. It's testing, she said. They want to see how we react. Well, I don't like it. Back on Earth, I was top of my class. Here, I feel like an insect. Hannah closed her book and looked at Jinyu carefully. He was smart and skilled, but Earth had not taught him what it had taught her. He had grown up in the safe cities, where conflict was rare and violence was controlled. She had grown up in the outer colonies, where every day was a fight for survival. Tell me about the species here, she said. What do you know about them? Jinyu pulled out his datapad. I've been studying them. The Valkyrians are the strongest physically. They have dense bones, thick skin, and natural armor. Their culture is based on honor and combat. They respect only strength. Go on. The Graxians are the smartest. They can think faster than most species and see tactical patterns others miss. But they're physically weak. The Zephyrians can fly and phase through solid matter, but they have trouble with heavy gravity. Every species has advantages and disadvantages. What about humans? Jinnu looked uncomfortable. That's the problem. I can't figure out what our advantage is supposed to be. We're not the strongest, or the fastest, or the smartest. We don't have natural weapons or armor. The only thing special about us is that we survived on a death world, but that just means we're tough, not that we're warriors. Hannah smiled. Jinnu was thinking like a civilian. He was looking for obvious advantages, the kind that showed up in Federation databases and training manuals. He did not understand that the best weapons were often hidden. Their conversation was interrupted by loud laughter from across the library. Veltar and 3 other Valkyrians had taken over a study area. They were not studying, they were talking about the humans. I watched them in physical training yesterday, one of them said. The male can barely lift his own body weight. The female is stronger, but still pathetic compared to us. I heard their planet has high gravity, said another. But they move like they were born on a low-gravity world. Veltar's voice was loudest. High gravity means nothing if you adapt to it by becoming weak. Their bodies are soft. Their bones are hollow, like bird bones. One good hit would shatter them. Hannah felt Jinnu tense beside her. His face was red with anger. She put a hand on his arm to keep him seated. They're wrong, he whispered. Human bones aren't hollow. They're denser than most species. Our muscle fibers are more efficient. We're stronger than they think. I know, Hannah said quietly. But let them think what they want to think. Why? Because when someone underestimates you, they give you an advantage. The Valkyrians kept talking. Their voices carried across the quiet library, meant to be heard. I almost feel sorry for them, Veltar said. The Federation probably accepted humans because they felt bad for such a primitive species, like adopting a stray animal. Maybe we should help them, suggested one of his friends. Show them how real warriors train. Good idea. Tomorrow's combat simulation would be perfect. We could protect them from getting hurt. More laughter. Other students in the library were watching now, waiting to see how the humans would react. This was the real test. Not physical strength or academic knowledge, but social dominance. The Valkyrians were establishing their place in the academy hierarchy, and they were using the humans to do it. Jin, you started to stand up. Hannah's grip on his arm tightened. Not here, she said. Not now. Then when? They're making us look weak. In front of everyone, they're making themselves look like bullies. There's a difference. Jinnu sat back down, but his hands were shaking with anger. Hannah understood his frustration. On Earth, this kind of behavior would have consequences, but they were not on Earth anymore. They were guests in someone else's house, representing their entire species. The next day brought their first combat simulation. The class was divided into teams of 4, with each team containing members from different species. It was designed to teach cooperation and tactical thinking. Hannah's team included herself, Jinnu, a nervous bird-like Quillen named Zixalta, and a silent rock creature called Throck. They were given a simple mission: secure a mining facility from hostile forces. Veltar's team was assigned as their support unit. They were supposed to provide backup and cover the retreat routes. Hannah had a bad feeling about this arrangement. The simulation began in a virtual canyon filled with metal buildings and narrow walkways. Hannah's team moved carefully, using cover and communication to advance toward their target. The Quillen's sharp eyes spotted hidden enemies. The rock creature's strength cleared blocked passages. The humans provided tactical coordination. They reached the mining facility and began their mission. That was when everything went wrong. Support team, we need covering fire on the north entrance. Jinnu called over the communication system. Silence. Veltar's team, please respond, Hannah said. Still nothing. Enemy forces surrounded the mining facility. Without support, Hannah's team was trapped. They fought bravely, but the simulation was designed to require teamwork. Alone, they had no chance. The exercise ended with their defeat. In the debriefing room, Instructor Thane looked disappointed. Team 7, explain your failure. He said. Our support team abandoned us, Jinyu said angrily. Veltar stood up calmly. We encountered heavy resistance on our approach. By the time we fought through it, Team 7 had already failed their mission. We thought it was more realistic training. Realistic training, Hannah asked. Yes, in real combat, you cannot always count on support, especially from. He paused, looking at the humans with fake concern. Less experienced warriors. Other students nodded. It sounded reasonable if you did not know what really happened. Hannah realized this had been planned from the beginning. The Valkyrians had deliberately left them to fail, then found a way to make it look like good training. Instructor Thane made notes on his datapad. Team 7 will repeat this exercise tomorrow with different parameters. Perhaps you will perform better with more suitable support. As the class filed out, Vel walked past Hannah's team. Better luck next time, Deathworlders, he said quietly. Maybe try a simulation more suited to your abilities. Like farming or food service. His friends laughed. Other students looked away, pretending they had not heard. Nobody wanted to get involved in species politics. That night, Hannah sat in her room and thought about her options. She could report what happened, but that would make her look weak and unable to handle her own problems. She could ignore it, but that would let the behavior continue and get worse. Or she could wait for the right moment to show everyone what Earth had really taught her. The next morning brought an announcement that changed everything. Instructor Thane's voice echoed through the dormitories. All students report to the main training hall. Today, we begin cross-species sparring exercises. These will help you understand the combat capabilities of different species and build unit cohesion. Jinyu looked at Hannah with excitement. Finally, a chance to show what we can do. Maybe, Hannah said. But she was thinking about Veltar's confident smile and the way other students looked at humans. They thought they knew what to expect. From Deathworlders, they were about to learn how wrong they were. The main training hall was bigger than a football field. Students from dozens of species filled the stands, their excited voices creating a buzz that echoed off the high ceiling. Word had spread quickly about the sparring matches. Everyone wanted to see how the different species would fight. Hannah walked onto the training floor with Jinyu beside her. The surface was made of some kind of smart material that could absorb impacts and prevent serious injuries. Around the edges, medical teams stood ready with equipment designed for every known species. I have never seen so many students in one place, Jinyu said nervously. They are curious, Hannah replied. We are the new species. They want to see what we can do. Instructor Thane stood in the center of the hall, his forearms moving as he activated holographic displays. The screens showed brackets and matchups for the sparring tournament. Today you will learn about combat across species, he announced. Each match will be between different species to promote understanding and respect. The rules are simple. No weapons, no permanent damage, fight until one participant yields or cannot continue. Hannah scanned the brackets, looking for her name. She found it quickly. Her opponent was listed as Feltar Nemos, Filkarian. A cold smile crossed her face. Perfect. Jin, you saw the matchup and looked worried. Are you sure about this? Have been training for combat their whole lives. They are twice your size and have natural armor. Size is not everything, Hannah said. But privately, she knew this would be her biggest test since arriving at the academy. Everything she had learned on Earth would be put to the ultimate test. That evening, Hannah sat alone in her room and activated her personal communicator. The holographic image of a woman appeared above her desk. Lee Sora was in her 40s, with graying hair and scars on her hands that spoke of years of hard training. Hannah, how are you settling in at the academy? Sora asked. It has been interesting. I need some advice. Sora's expression became serious. She had been Hannah's combat instructor on Earth and knew her student well. What kind of advice? I have a sparring match tomorrow against a Valkyrian. They are much larger and stronger than humans. Their bones are denser, and they have natural armor plating. Ah, Sora nodded slowly. Your first real test. Have you been studying your opponent? Yes, Voltar Nimbus. He is confident, maybe overconfident. He thinks humans are weak because we do not look dangerous. Good. Overconfidence is a weakness you can use. Tell me what you know about Valkyrian physiology. Hannah recited what she had learned. Heavy bone structure, thick skin, natural armor on chest and back, enhanced reflexes but slower than humans. Over long distances, they rely on strength and intimidation. What else? Hannah thought carefully. They are used to fighting other Valkyrians. Same size, same abilities, same tactics. They probably have never fought someone like me. Exactly. Remember what we taught you on Earth. Every advantage can become a disadvantage if you know how to use it. Their strength makes them heavy. Their armor makes them slow to turn. Their height gives them reach but also makes them top-heavy. What about their grab attacks? I read that Valkyrians like to use their superior reach to control opponents. Sora smiled grimly. That is their favorite tactic. They grab the neck or arms and squeeze until the opponent gives up. It works on most species because most species have weak necks and fragile windpipes. But not humans. Your neck evolved to support your head during long-distance running. The muscles and bones are incredibly strong. Crush, most creatures would barely bother you. More importantly, if someone grabs your neck, they have to get close to do it. Close enough for me to reach them. Close enough for you to break them. They talked for another hour, going over tactics and strategies. When the call ended, Hannah felt more confident. She was not just representing herself tomorrow. She was representing all of humanity. The other species needed to understand what Earth had created. The next morning came too quickly. Hannah ate a light breakfast and arrived at the training hall early. The stands were already filling with students. She had never seen so many different species in one place. In the center of the hall, Veltar was warming up. He moved through combat, forms that looked like a deadly dance. His crystalline skin caught the light as he punched and kicked the air. Other Valkyrians in the stands cheered and called out encouragement. Impressive, is he not? Said a voice behind her. Hannah turned to see a tall reptilian creature in a commander's uniform. This was Commander Kairos, the station commander she had heard about but never met. He is skilled, Hannah agreed. Veltar is from one of the most honored warrior families on Valkyria. He has been training since he could walk. His family has produced generals and champions for centuries. And what do you know about humans, Commander? Kairos studied her with ancient eyes. Not much, I admit. Your species is new to the Federation. The reports say you come from a dangerous world, but that could mean many things. Some dangerous world species are strong. Others are simply good at hiding. Which do you think humans are? I suppose we will find out today. The first few matches were entertaining but predictable. The stronger species beat the weaker ones. The faster species outmaneuvered the slower ones. The crowd cheered for good techniques and clever strategies. Finally, Instructor Thane called for the match everyone was waiting for. Next match. Voltar Nimbus of Valkyria versus Kim Hannah of Earth. The crowd noise grew louder. Betting displays appeared on screens around the hall. The odds heavily favored Voltar. Hannah walked to the center of the training area. She looked small next to the massive Valkyrian, like a child standing next to an adult. Voltar grinned down at her, showing teeth like crystal daggers. I will try to make this quick, little human, he said. I do not want to hurt you too badly. Thank you for your concern, Hannah replied politely. I will try to do the same for you. Voltar laughed. In the stands, his friends laughed with him. The idea of a human hurting a Valkyrian was apparently very funny. Instructor Thane raised one of his arms. Fighters, ready. Both contestants nodded. Begin. Voltar did not attack immediately. Instead, he circled Hannah slowly, studying her stance and movements. He was being careful, which showed he was not completely stupid. But Hannah could see the confidence. In his eyes, he believed he had already won. You move well for a soft skin, he said. Have you had combat training? Some, Hannah replied. She was also circling, but in the opposite direction. She was learning his patterns, the way he shifted his weight and telegraphed his movements. On your Deathworld, I suppose survival requires some fighting skills, but this is not survival. This is war. Is it? Hannah asked. I thought this was just sparring. Veltar's grin became predatory. For you, maybe. For me, this is about honor, about showing everyone what real warriors look like. The crowd was getting restless. They wanted to see action, not conversation. Some students started calling for the fighters to engage. Veltar heard them and decided to end the match quickly. He stopped circling and squared his shoulders. His stance became aggressive, ready to charge. Last chance to yield, human. I will not be gentle once I start. Hannah stopped moving as well. She relaxed her shoulders and took a deep breath. In her mind, she heard Sora's voice. The most dangerous predator is the one that does not look dangerous. I appreciate the warning, she said calmly. But I think you should worry about yourself. Something in her tone made Veltar pause. For just a moment, his warrior instincts whispered that something was wrong. The human was too calm, too relaxed. She should be nervous or afraid or angry. Instead, she looked almost pleased, but his pride was stronger than his instincts. He had made his challenge in front of hundreds of students. He could not back down now. Veltar charged forward, his long arms reaching for Hannah's neck. It was the classic Veltarian dominance move, designed to end fights quickly and demonstrate superiority. His crystalline fingers closed around her throat. The crowd held its breath. This was it. The match was over. But then something happened that no one expected. Hannah smiled. Veltar's grip tightened around Hannah's neck. His crystalline fingers were strong enough to crush steel. The crowd watched in silence, expecting to see the human collapse or surrender immediately. But Hannah just stood there, smiling. Waiting for? She asked quietly. Her voice was clear and steady, not strained at all. Veltar's eyes widened in confusion. He squeezed harder. On any other species, this pressure would cut off breathing and blood flow to the brain. The victim would pass out in seconds. Hannah tilted her head slightly, like she was thinking about something interesting. Is this your best grip? I have felt stronger handshakes. Panic flashed across Veltar's face. This was impossible. The human should be gasping for air, clawing at his hands, begging for mercy. Instead, she looked bored. What Veltar did not understand was that human necks were not like other species' necks. Millions of years of evolution had made them incredibly strong. Early humans had been persistent hunters, chasing prey across vast distances while keeping their heads steady. The muscles and bones had developed to handle tremendous stress. But more importantly, Veltar had made a fatal mistake. In his eagerness to demonstrate dominance, he had extended his arms fully and leaned forward. His entire upper body was exposed and off balance. Hannah's hands moved faster than anyone in the crowd could follow. She grabbed Veltar's extended arm with both hands, her grip like iron clamps. Before he could react, she pivoted her entire body and pulled downward with explosive force. The physics were simple but devastating. Veltar's arm became a lever, with his shoulder as the fulcrum and Hannah as the force. His own grip on her neck became an anchor point that prevented him from pulling away. The sound of breaking bone echoed through the silent training hall like a gunshot. Veltar's collarbone snapped with a sharp crack that made several students in the front rows flinch. The Veltarian warrior, who had never felt serious pain in his life, screamed and released Hannah immediately. He stumbled backward, his left arm hanging at an impossible angle. His face had gone pale beneath his crystalline skin. Shock and pain warred in his eyes as he tried to understand what had just happened. Hannah straightened her uniform calmly. She rolled her shoulders to work out a small crick in her neck, then looked at Veltar with something that might have been sympathy. You made a classic mistake, she said, in the same quiet voice she had used throughout the fight. You assumed that because I do not look dangerous, I am not dangerous. The training hall was absolutely silent. Hundreds of students from dozens of species stared in shock. This was not supposed to happen. Humans were new to the Federation, untested, supposedly weak. They were not supposed to break Valkyrian warriors like they were made of glass. Veltar tried to speak, but only a groan came out. The pain was overwhelming his nervous system. His legs gave out, and he collapsed to his knees on the training mat. Medical team to the training floor, Instructor Thane called out. His voice was professionally calm, but Hannah could see the surprise in his compound eyes. As the medical team rushed forward with their equipment, Hannah turned to walk away. But she paused beside the fallen Valkyrian and spoke quietly, so only he could hear. On Earth, we have a saying, it is not the size of the dog in the fight, it is the size of the fight in the dog. You judged me by my size and assumed I was weak. That was your first mistake. She started walking toward the exit again, but Veltar managed to gasp out a question. What? What was my second mistake? Hannah looked back at him over her shoulder. You grabbed a Deathworlder's neck and expected her to be afraid. My neck has muscles that can support my head during a 20-mile run. Your grip was strong, but not strong enough. The medical team had reached Veltar now and was scanning his injuries with their equipment. One of them, a crystalline being like Veltar himself, looked up at Hannah with something approaching awe. Dr. Zelenara, to all medical stations, the doctor said into his communicator. We have a complete clavicle fracture with possible nerve damage. Also, please update our files on human physiology. Our current data appears to be significantly incomplete. Commander Kairos had moved down from his observation booth and was standing at the edge of the training area. He watched Hannah approach with ancient, calculating eyes. That was impressive, he said simply. Thank you, Commander. How long have you been training in combat? Since I was 5 years old, Hannah replied. On Earth, everyone learns to fight. Our world does not give us a choice. And yet your species is classified as peaceful in our databases. Hannah paused to consider this. We are peaceful, Commander. We do not start fights. But that does not mean we cannot finish them. Commander Kairos nodded slowly. I see. Tell me, are all humans capable of what you just demonstrated? All humans can do what I did, yes. But not all humans would do what I did. It depends on training and necessity. And you had both. I had both. The commander was quiet for a moment, watching the medical team work on The Federation databases on human capabilities will need to be updated significantly. Yes, sir, I believe they will. As Hannah walked out of the training hall, the crowd finally found its voice. Excited chatter erupted from every section of the stands. Students were pulling out their communicators, sending messages to friends on other worlds. The news would spread quickly. The humans were not what anyone had expected. Behind her, Veltar was being loaded onto a medical transport. The doctors were speaking in rapid technical language about bone density and muscle fiber composition. They had assumed human physiology was similar to other peaceful species. They were learning how wrong they had been. Jinu was waiting for her. In the corridor outside the training hall, his face was a mixture of amazement and worry. That was incredible, he said. But are you going to get in trouble for injuring him so badly? He will heal, Hannah said, and this was an official sparring match with medical supervision. I followed all the rules. But his collarbone will teach him not to grab opponents without understanding what he is grabbing. They walked back toward their quarters in silence. Other students they passed in the corridors stared openly now, but the looks were different. No more dismissive glances or condescending smiles. Now there was respect mixed with uncertainty and, in some cases, fear. That evening, Hannah's communicator chimed with an incoming message. She was surprised to see it was from Veltar. The message was short and formal. Kim Hannah, of Earth. I request permission to speak with you privately when my medical treatment is complete. I have questions about human combat philosophy. Nimbus, 4th House of Valkyria. Hannah smiled as she read the message. This was progress. On Earth, the best way to earn respect was to demonstrate capability. It appeared the same was true on Valkyria. She typed back a simple reply, permission granted. I look forward to our conversation. As she prepared for sleep, Hannah thought about what had happened in the training hall. Word of the match would spread. Throughout the academy and beyond, other species would start looking at humans differently. Some would be more respectful, others might see humans as a threat. But that was a problem for tomorrow. Tonight, she was content with the knowledge that she had represented Earth well. She had shown the galaxy that humans were not victims, not weaklings to be protected or dismissed. They were exactly what the Federation databases said they were. Survivors from a death world. The galaxy was just beginning to understand what that really meant. The news of Hannah's victory spread through the academy faster than wildfire. By the next morning, every student knew what had happened in the training hall. The story grew with each telling, but the basic facts remained the same. A small human had broken a Valkyrian warrior's bone with her bare hands. Commander Kairos called an emergency meeting in his office. Instructor Thane, Dr. Zelenara, and several other faculty members gathered around a holographic display showing medical scans and combat footage. Explain to me how this happened, the commander said. Dr. Zelenara activated the medical scans. Sir, our databases on human physiology were completely wrong. We based our information on peaceful first contact protocols and diplomatic meetings. We never studied humans in combat situations. What did we miss? Everything important. The doctor highlighted sections of Hannah's scan. Human bone density is 40% higher than we estimated. Their muscle fiber composition is unlike anything we have seen. And their neck structure, ... double quotes, he paused, shaking his head. It is built like armor, not like the fragile connection we see in most species. Instructor Thane added his analysis. The human used perfect leverage and timing. She turned Veltar's strength against him. But the real advantage was psychological. She remained calm while he panicked. Could other humans do the same thing? Based on what we observed, yes. The techniques she used are not special abilities. They are learned skills, combined with natural physical advantages. Commander Kairos was quiet for a long moment. How many humans are there on Earth? Approximately 8 billion, sir. 8 billion warriors. Not warriors, sir, but 8 billion. Beings with the same physical capabilities we just witnessed. The implications hung heavy in the room. The Federation had just welcomed a species they completely misunderstood. Humans were not weak refugees from a dangerous world. They were the predators that had conquered that dangerous world. Meanwhile, in the medical bay, Veltar was learning the same lesson from a different perspective. Dr. Zelenara had repaired his collarbone, but the healing would take several weeks, even with advanced Federation medicine. Dr. Veltar said as his treatment finished, I need to understand something. How strong are humans really? Dr. Zelenara pulled up comparison charts. Stronger than we thought. Your bones are made of crystalline calcium compounds that can withstand tremendous pressure. Her bones are made of organic materials, but they are denser and more flexible. When force was applied correctly, organic beat crystalline. What about their muscles? Human muscles have more fast-twitch fibers than most species. They can generate explosive power in short bursts. Combined with their bone density and joint flexibility, they are natural close combat specialists. Veltar absorbed this information silently. His warrior culture had taught him to respect strength, but he had been looking for the wrong kind of strength. He had expected size and obvious power. He had not expected efficiency and intelligence. That evening, Veltar made his way to the human quarters. His arm was in a medical brace, but he could move without pain. He found Hannah in the common area, reading a book about Federation history. May I sit? He asked formally. Hannah looked up and nodded. How is your shoulder? Healing. The doctors say it will be stronger than before when it is finished. He sat carefully in the chair across from her. I came to apologize, and to ask questions. You do not need to apologize for fighting well. I was not fighting well. I was fighting stupidly. I let pride and assumptions guide my actions instead of tactics and observation. Hannah closed her book and gave him her full attention. This was not what she had expected from a Valkyrian warrior. What questions do you have? Why did you not use your advantages immediately? You could have ended the fight in the first few seconds, because that would not have taught anyone anything. The other species needed to see that I was not weak, but they also needed to understand why they were wrong about humans. If I had won too quickly, they would have thought it was luck. Veltar nodded slowly. You wanted them to see me try my best technique and fail completely. I wanted them to see that their assumptions about humans were dangerous. For them, and for us. Dangerous how? Hannah was quiet for a moment, choosing her words carefully. Veltar, what do you know about Earth's history? Very little. Only that it is a dangerous world, and humans survived it. Earth has had many wars. Humans have fought each other for thousands of years. We learned to fight, not because we wanted to, but because we had to. Our world taught us that the greatest danger often comes from things that do not look dangerous. Like humans? Like humans. We look small and weak compared to species like yours. But we evolved to be persistence hunters. We chased our prey for hours or days until it collapsed from exhaustion. We survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and diseases that killed most other life forms. We did not survive by being the biggest or strongest. We survived by being smart, adaptable, and very hard to kill. Veltar was beginning to understand, so when other species see humans and think they are weak, they make the same mistake our prey made millions of years ago. They underestimate the persistence hunter. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Jinyu and several other students. Word had spread that Veltar was visiting the humans, and curiosity had brought them to see what would happen. Among the new arrivals was Zixelta, the nervous Quillen from Hannah's simulation team. She approached hesitantly. Hannah, she said in her musical voice, I wanted to thank you for what you did in the sparring match. Thank me. Why? Because now the other species take us seriously too. After seeing what you did to Veltar, they realize that small does not mean weak. My people have been underestimated for generations. More students began gathering in the common area. They came from different species, but they all had one thing in common. They had been dismissed or overlooked because they did not fit the traditional image of warriors. A young Graxian spoke up. We heard that humans can teach fighting techniques that do not rely on size or natural weapons. Hannah looked around at the eager faces. She had not expected this. I can teach some things, she said carefully, but each species has different advantages and limitations. Will you try? Asked Zixelta. Before Hannah could answer, Veltar spoke. I would also like to learn. My people's fighting style is based on our natural advantages. But your style is based on intelligence and adaptability. Those are advantages any species can develop. Over the following weeks, the academy began to change. Hannah started informal training sessions in the evenings, teaching techniques that emphasized leverage, timing, and psychological warfare over brute force. Students from many species attended these sessions. More importantly, the faculty began updating their training programs. The sparring matches were reorganized to focus on skill rather than species matchups. The combat simulations were redesigned. To reward teamwork and creative thinking, Commander Kairos watched these changes with interest. He had sent reports to Federation headquarters about the human capabilities, and the response had been swift. Earth's status in the Federation was being reviewed. Humans were no longer classified as a protected species requiring careful handling. They were being reclassified as a strategic species with significant military potential. 3 months after the sparring match, graduation day arrived. The Academy's tradition was for the top student in each class to give a speech to the assembled graduates and faculty. Hannah stood at the podium, looking out at hundreds of faces from dozens of worlds. Her classmates, who had once dismissed her as weak, now looked at her with respect and friendship. "When I first arrived at this academy," she began, "many of you thought you knew what humans were. You thought we were weak because we were small. You thought we were helpless because we came from a dangerous world." She paused, her eyes finding Veltar in the crowd. His collarbone had healed completely, and he wore his graduation uniform with pride. "But you learned, as I learned, that strength comes in many forms. Physical power is just one kind of strength. Intelligence, adaptability, persistence, and the will to never give up are all forms of strength too." The crowd listened in complete silence. The galaxy is vast and full of dangers we have not yet imagined. When those dangers come, we will face them together, not as separate species competing for dominance, but as partners who understand and respect each other's strengths. Applause filled the hall as Hannah finished her speech. As she walked back to her seat, Veltar caught her eye and nodded with deep respect. Later that day, as the graduates prepared to leave for their new assignments throughout the Federation, Veltar approached Hannah one final time. "I have been assigned to the Border Defense Fleet," he said. "What about you?" "Special operations training on Lunar Base. They want humans to teach other species the techniques I showed you." "Good. The Federation needs to understand what humans can do." He extended his hand in the human gesture of friendship he had learned. "It has been an honor to know you, Kim Hannah, of Earth." She shook his hand firmly. "And an honor to fight beside you, Veltar Nimbus of Valkyria." As their transport ships departed Kalos Prime, carrying graduates to every corner of the galaxy, the story of the human who broke a Valkyrian's collarbone became legend. But the real story was simpler and more important. The galaxy had learned that the most dangerous predators were often the ones that did not look dangerous at all. And humanity had found its place among the stars, not as victims or refugees, but as exactly what they had always been: survivors.